What's going on, friends? I've got another movie-themed Battlefield 4 loadout for you today. Over on my Facebook account, I let you guys vote on whether you wanted to see a G.I. Joe or an SAS themed setup, and the SAS were the clear winners with the majority of the votes. So because this series is based on movies, one of only a handful of movies that actually features the British Armed Forces and the SAS in particular is the old BBC-funded Bravo 20 movie from 1999. As a result, this loadout is probably not going to fit into people's typical expectations as to what weapons would use for an SAS class setup, but at least it allows us to create a setup that works in Battlefield 4, since as we know, the traditional MP5, which is iconic to the SAS from the Iranian embassy siege, isn't available in Battlefield 4. The Bravo 20 movie is based on a mission from the Gulf War in 1991, so we're already looking at some quite old equipment. It follows the true story of a British SAS team led by Andy McNabb, who were inserted behind enemy lines in Iraq to destroy some Scud missile launchers, but ultimately ended up getting captured. So let's get straight on with the setup and take a look, first of all, of the weapons we're going to use. Now, the last weapon choice you were probably expecting for an SAS loadout is the M16, but seeing as we're basing this loadout on the movie Bravo 20, we're going to use the M16A4, which is a nod to the M16A2s used in the movie. Now, you might be thinking, what the hell were the SAS doing with M16? Surely that was the standard American weapon, but you've got to remember that this was set in the early 90s during the Gulf War, and back then the British Army had the SA-80, which suffered from major reliability issues until it was revised into the L85A2 in the year 2000 by H&K. Being a Special Forces team, the SAS can choose whatever equipment they like, so it's no surprise that they went with the American alternative and chose the M16. And it's actually funny how we've seen this trend continue over recent years too. One of the main weapons adopted by the SAS now is the Dimaco C8, which is basically the Colt cannon variant of the M4. So aside from some taped magazines which we see in the movie, the overall setup is pretty much stock, with the exception of those underslung M203 grenade launchers. This means in Battlefield 4 we're going to leave the optic as the default iron sights, equip no accessory and leave the standard barrel. Performance wise, this doesn't put us at too much of a disadvantage, since the M16 comes along in BF4 only in its burst variant. That means you don't really need to make use of any of those attachments that control the recoil, plus the M16's iron sights are perfectly adequate and quite easy to use without the use of a red dot sight. So the only accessory we need to remember is to equip the underslung rail in order to mount our M320 grenade launcher that we'll choose later. So let's move on and finish off this setup with a look at some equipment and bonus items we can choose for our SAS loadout in Battlefield 4. So we've already chosen the underslung rail in order to equip the M320 grenade launcher, which is a reference to the old M203 launcher that's seen on those M16s. The great thing about that underslung rail is it makes it much quicker to switch to your grenade launcher without having to put your weapon away and pull out your gadget. There's a couple of scenes in the movie where a grenade is tossed into the back of a tank or a personnel vehicle to blow its occupants to bits. This is likely to just be a standard grenade, but due to the special effects used in the movie we see some kind of fireworks effects, so I thought it was quite fitting to go with the incendiary grenade in Battlefield 4, just to give us that kind of bright burning fiery effect. We see these kind of explosives, including those M203s, the grenades and the low rocket launchers, used quite prominently in the movie, especially during that main battle scene when they're facing off against the Iraqi army and its multiple tanks. So the one field upgrade which is a perfect fit is Grenadier, which is going to grant us additional grenades as well as higher explosive damage. So I always like to finish off these setups with a nice bonus item that's a battle pack specific unlock which fits in perfectly to the theme, and in the case of this Bravo 20 SAS setup, I think the Desert ERDL camo for the weapon is a good fit to those desert spray jobs on those M16s. So while this setup probably didn't use the weapons and equipment you'd expect for an SAS loadout, it still makes quite a fun setup and is a good tribute to the Bravo 20 movie. If you've never seen this movie before, I definitely recommend watching it. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's one of only a couple that actually featured the SAS. Plus it stars the local legend Sean Bean, who's from my hometown of Sheffield and still has a house just down the road. So as always, if you actually have some fun on the battlefield with this loadout, or if you just enjoyed my video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up just to help spread the word and share the video with your friends. If you want to see more movie themed fun loadouts for Battlefield 4, don't forget to check the playlist down in the description for all the episodes I've posted already. If you want to participate in any polls that I run for future loadouts, then be sure to follow me over on Twitter and Facebook. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.